With the Golden State Warriors having lost 4 games in a row, and there's question marks surrounding the rotation and what Steve Kerr should do with this Warriors roster, I think one thing is clear. Golden State needs to trim the rotation down, and in that, they need to make a trade. So I'm bringing you guys my top 5 Warriors trade targets on today's show. But before we do, we were challenged. We were talking smack to by Celtics today. I think they might still be a little butthurt from that whooping that Golden State gave them a couple of weeks ago on national TV. They said we couldn't get 500 likes on today's video. I need Dub Nation to prove them wrong. I believe in you guys. So go down below, hit that thumbs up icon, and we'll get started with today's show. What's going on, Dub Nation? You're watching Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Tyler Smith, and on today's show, we're going to bring you my top 5 realistic Golden State Warriors trade targets. No Kevin Durant on today's video, so if that's what you're looking for, unfortunately, still stick around, but maybe you might not be as intrigued. All I have to know is that Golden State needs to make a trade. And before they make a trade for anybody, necessarily out there, before they have a target, the player that they need to send out in any deal, unfortunately, is De'Anthony Melton. We know De'Anthony Melton will unfortunately not be part of the Warriors for the rest of the season because he did suffer the ACL injury. He's going to undergo surgery and will be out until at least the start of next season, it seems. So what Golden State has to do as he makes $12.9 million on a one-year contract is trade him away in one of these deals. That's the only way you're going to get a player back of any substance because he makes, the sizable tradable contract on this Warriors team. Now, trading Melton is a little bit tricky, right? Because can you trade him to a team that's trying to make a push for the playoffs? Probably not, because he's not going to be of any use to them. So what you have to do is trade De'Anthony Melton to a non-contender. Somebody like the Washington Wizards, somebody like the Brooklyn Nets, who, don't need his services this season because they're looking forward to the next NBA draft where, really highly touted prospects are there at the top. Teams are going to want to tank, and De'Anthony Melton is one of those guys who, could be sent to one of those teams where they could send one of their more productive players back, a win-win for both sides. So that's what they have to do. And as far as De'Anthony Melton goes, I know Golden State fans love him. I loved him for the start of the season. They can easily bring him back next year. Unfortunately, with the injury history that he has, his price tag won't probably even be the number that he got signed to this season. The $12.9 million mid-level exception is probably not in the cards for De'Anthony Melton next summer. So Golden State could probably bring him back for less than $10 million. Won't be much of a problem, and I'm sure he'll want to come back. He seemed to like playing with Stephen Curry, and hopefully he could be a part of this Golden State Warriors rotation in the future. Unfortunate that he got injured, though. As far as who Golden State could also trade to package with De'Anthony Melton, because you're probably not going to get a really great player for just $12.9 million, here are a couple of the names that I have out there as trade candidates. Jonathan Kuminga makes $7.6 million. Now, is Golden State going to be hesitant to trade Jonathan Kuminga? Probably, but he's still a name out there that is going to be targeted by some of these teams looking to build a young core. Gary Payton II makes $9.1 million, expiring. Good salary matching contract there as well. Moses Moody, $5.8 million. Now, you see there's a star next to that because he has the poison pill in his contract. Remember, Moses Moody signed to a 3-year, $39 million extension, but his trade value outgoing would be $5.8 million, and obviously the incoming to the next team would be $13 million. So you need to be able to trade him to a team with a ton of cap space, and it's a very sticky situation. I'm not so sure that anybody's going to be trading for Moses Moody unless they're in love with the guy. Kevon Looney, another expiring, $8 million, another contract out there that's able to be salary matched for Golden State to maybe get a player that's maybe a little bit out of their price range right now for just one player. Now, as far as who I have on my list for the trade targets for Golden State, I have to preface with this. I'm not sure that any of these names are necessarily going to make Golden State a favorite in the Western Conference or necessarily make them shoot up their rankings according to the sports books of odds to win the NBA championship. But you owe it to Stephen Curry and Draymond Green to tighten this rotation up and just improve and get better. Because, Golden State, even though they've lost 4 in a row, they're still the 4th seed in the Western Conference. They're still firmly in a playoff spot. And they're firmly at a playoff level, in my opinion. So you just need a little bit of marginal help. I think you just need a couple of guys who can, just boost this team on the nights offensively, especially where shots aren't falling. So that's where I'm going to start number 1 overall on this trade target list with Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, listen, you can say what you want about him. Maybe he's a meme player. He might dress funny, all that stuff. But he's a damn good basketball player. He can put the ball in the bucket. He's playing for the Wizards right now. And let's be honest, man, the Wizards, they don't really seem to be contending anytime soon. And Kyle Kuzma is one of the players that's putting in the most production for them on a night-to-night basis. In my opinion, Kyle Kuzma is the best off-the-dribble shooter that you could find out there, that's willing to be dealt. You don't see a ton of guys with all-star level production that can score off the bounce that are being floated around in trade rumors. But with Kyle Kuzma standing right now on the Washington Wizards, it's one of those situations where, he could be dealt and hopefully to a team like Golden State that is trying to contend. And Golden State could package a couple things that help Washington get closer and closer to that number one pick and maybe select a guy like Cooper Flagg. But as far as what Kyle Kuzma has done over the past couple of seasons, he's been very, very solid, man. The numbers on your screen through 12 games this year, they weren't awesome for Kyle Kuzma, and he hasn't been as efficient as he has been over the past couple of seasons. He's never going to necessarily light it up from three-point range, but he is going to be capable from back there, and he is going to be able to hit shots in the mid-range, be able to take guys off the dribble, and just be able to get buckets at all three levels of the court. I like Kyle Kuzma a lot. I think that Golden State could benefit greatly from adding a guy like him to this roster for that second scoring punch. Next up, another little scoring punch that Golden State could get up, Cam Johnson. Now, I'm stuttering right now. I don't know why I am, because we already talked about Cam Johnson. We talked about how the impact that he could make on this Golden State Warriors team right now. He's a guy who spreads the floor probably better than anybody who's being floated around in any trade rumors right now. And Brooklyn, we know, is one of those teams as well that isn't looking to compete right now. And Brooklyn, honestly, they probably need to lose more games right now, quickly, because they're like the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference. They need to be closer to 15 than they need to be to 1, and that's not the case right now. So trading a guy away like Cam Johnson, he is injured right now, so he's going to be back in a couple weeks. And with De'Anthony Melton eligible to be traded on December 15th, timelines kind of match up there for Golden State to make a deal. He's under contract for 3 years and $65 million, so very matchable salary there. Melton plus one or two other players would get this deal done, and he would give you the best combo of size, shooting, and versatility. At 6'8" and a long wingspan, his ability to hit the outside shot, and he can guard multiple spots too. Put him on a guard, put him on a 2, put him on a 3, put him on a 4. He can guard them all, and that's the type of versatility that Golden State thrives with. You look at the numbers on your screen right here, 43% from three-point range this year. This guy's on fire. Unbelievable numbers. Career best numbers from Cam Johnson so far this year. But I mean, this isn't new to him. The efficiency is not new to him. He's a career 40% three-point shooter, and he's a guy that could really, really make Golden State a powerhouse when it comes to their outside shot, because that's what Steve Kerr wanted to do all season long, is hit that outside shot and hit it at a high volume. So Cam Johnson, I think he's a guy who could go and make Golden State a real contender in the Western Conference, but I also think a guy like Kyle Kuzma could give them that scoring punch that they need as well, aside from Andrew Wiggins, Steph Curry, and the likes. So with that being said, who would you guys trade for? This would be the pinned comment on today's video. So let me know down in the comments. If you want Kyle Kuzma, type a K. If you want Cam Johnson, type a C. Keep in mind, the salaries, they're fairly close. Just kind of comes down to preference with this one. Let me know who you guys would rather trade for between Kyle Kuzma and Cam Johnson down in the comments section. 3 more trade targets to get to in just a moment, but first, I got to give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports platform with over 10 million active members, and you can get started today on Prize Picks with a free $50 in your account when you place your first $5 entry and use our promo code CLNS. And you might be asking me, Tyler, how do you even place an entry on Prize Picks? It's so simple. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 player stat projections across a plethora of sports: football, basketball, hockey, baseball, esports. Doesn't even matter. Anything's available on Prize Picks, and you can get started today. PrizePicks.com/CLNS to get that $50 in your account for free. You don't need to win that $5 entry to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. As far as the Prize Picks that I've been a customer on Prize Picks far before they were even a sponsor here at Chat Sports. So I always have a Prize Picks lineup ready to go every single night. Tonight, I have Anthony Davis, more than 26.5 points against the, I believe, Minnesota Timberwolves. Have that. I also have Dyson Daniels to have more than 19.5 points, rebounds, and assists against his former team, the New Orleans Pelicans. A little bit of a revenge game for DD. And then I got Josh Giddey, who has been more of a facilitator for this Chicago Bulls offense over the past couple of games. I got him more than 7.5 assists. That's a demon on Prize Picks, so it increases the payout to 7.5x. You can tail my picks, you can fade my picks. Just make sure you go and do it at Prize Picks. Download the Prize Pick app today. Use that promo code CLNS and get $50 for free when you place your first $5 entry. You don't even need to win to receive the $50. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Next up on our trade targets, we're going to the front court, because I know the comment section has been clamoring for it. This Golden State Warriors team needs size. And you know what? I think the best option available right now is a guy like Jakob Poeltl, playing for the Toronto Raptors right now. And honestly, with the roster construction with the Raptors, you would think that they're not really trying to trade anybody right now, but they're really, really bad. They haven't been able to win many, many games this season, and I don't think that this Jakob Poeltl thing is out of thin air. I don't think it's something that is necessarily out of the question or, just conjured up in my head, right? Brett Siegel of Clutch Points tweeted this out. He said, 2 names I keep my eye on for Golden State ahead of the deadline, Kelly Olynyk. I decided not to talk about Kelly Olynyk today. I don't really think Kelly Olynyk's a productive enough player to really move any needles for this Golden State Warriors team. And Jonas Valanciunas. Now, he didn't mention Jakob Poeltl in this list, but as far as Poeltl goes, he's a guy like Jonas Valanciunas who's on a bad team, and he's on a team where, they're not really trying to contend this year. They're not really in a spot to contend this year. So you get a true 7-footer in Jakob Poeltl, and he's under contract, really, honestly, a cheap deal. About $19.5 million a season for Poeltl. So you put De'Anthony Melton and Gary Payton II in the deal, and you're already giving out more in salary to Toronto than you're even getting back, which, remember, Golden State hard capped at that first tax apron, so they can't take back more in a deal than they would be sending out. But, man, Jakob Poeltl, maybe one of the most underrated bigs in the NBA. I think he's the best all-around big man on the market right now that Golden State can go out there and trade for. And he's having a really, really solid year. Career best numbers for him as well, averaging a double-double. He's getting a ton of burn in Toronto right now as their starting center, 16 points, 12 boards a night, shooting incredibly efficiently from the field, near 60%. And he's also a force down low in the rim protection category as well, averaging more than 1.2 blocks per game each of the last 4 seasons. Now, you see the games played on your screen right now. He has had a couple of injuries, but never seems to be somebody who's dinged up super long term. Just a couple of bumps and bruises that keep him out for a couple of stretches during the season. Seems like somebody who's been fairly healthy for most of his tenure in the NBA. I like Jakob Poeltl a lot. Has great touch around the rim and can really play that 5 spot better than a lot of guys do in this NBA. It would be a big help to this Golden State team. But the next name we got on our list, another center, and the one we just talked about that Golden State could be linked to this season, Jonas Valanciunas. Now, we've talked about Jonas Valanciunas before on the channel. Has been a little bit, but remember, he cannot be traded until December 15th as well. One of those guys who signed a free agency this year to the Washington Wizards. And it seemed to me when he signed that contract that Washington was only signing him to trade him and get maybe a first-round pick or a couple second-round picks down the line if he was productive for them this season. He's under contract for 3 years, $30.9 million, or $30.3 million, and that's very, very easy to trade for. You could 1-for-1 De'Anthony Melton for Jonas Valanciunas, so maybe the value there is a little bit more favorable to a guy like Valanciunas. And honestly, he's not a bad consolation if you miss out on a guy like Jakob Poeltl. He's actually a better floor spacer than Jakob Poeltl. He can hit the outside shot, and that's conducive to what Golden State wants to do night in and night out. Now, the numbers on your screen aren't necessarily glaring when it comes to being a knockdown 3-point shooter. Really struggling this season, but to be fair, there is not a lot of spacing in that Washington Wizards lineup, and he's honestly has had an inconsistent role so far this year. They're bringing him off the bench a ton. And I think Jonas Valanciunas is a guy who deserves to start in this NBA. He can hit the outside shot. He plays solid defense on the inside, has great touch around the rim, and hey, he's one of the best rebounders in this league year in and year out. Has dropped in that category over the past couple of seasons, but if he came to Golden State, he would no doubt be back above double-digit rebounds per game. And the last name we have on our list, another front court addition possibility, Robert Williams III, the Portland Trailblazers center, the former Boston Celtic, the former Defensive Player of the Year candidate, Robert Williams III. Now, the big gripe about Time Lord, as they call him, he really can't stay healthy. That has not been something that he's been able to do. In my opinion, the best ability is availability in this league, and Robert Williams over the seasons just has not been as available as he should be. He's under a very affordable contract, though, at 2 years, $25.7 million. He's an awesome talent, guys. He plays a lot bigger than his 6'8 frame. I know Golden State fans, they're always like, oh, we need a true 7-footer down low. But if Robert Williams was down low and he's obviously standing at 6'8", you wouldn't feel the size disparity between he and 7-footers. He can guard those guys. He can play much bigger than he is. And he's also an athletic freak. Awesome lob threat, elite rim protector, and he's somebody that could transform this Golden State Warriors defense on the interior. Look at the numbers over the past couple of seasons for Robert Williams here. He's only played in 7 games this season, so he's obviously already banged up a little bit. Only played in 6 games last year, but when he was a Boston Celtic a few seasons ago, I mean, he was unbelievable. Look at that 21-22 season when the Celtics ended up losing in the finals to Golden State. 10 points a game. Basically 10 rebounds, 2.2 blocks a night, and almost 75% from the field. I mean, Robert Williams never misses because he doesn't really take many shots outside the restricted area. But, man, he is somebody who I think could really benefit this Golden State Warriors team on the inside. He's an elite defender, and if he could stay healthy, this guy would be the Golden State Warriors starting center moving forward. Move over TJD. I promise you Robert Williams is a better player, but it just comes down to availability with him. I would like to see Golden State make a move for him, but I'd also be cautious with how much they would send out because he has been such an oft-injured player. Now, with that being said, before we get out of here, what do you guys think? Who is your guy Is it somebody on my list, or is it somebody off the list who I haven't talked about today? Let me know down in the comment section. Name a player that the Golden State Warriors should trade for. Is it Kuzma? Is it Cam Johnson? Is it Poeltl? Is it Valanciunas? Or is it Robert Williams? Or is it somebody else? Let me know who you guys think down in the comments section. I want to hear from Dub Nation on who they think that should be on this Golden State Warriors team moving forward.